This is the cold to gold framework. One thing you will notice when you look at this framework is that every step is essential. In fact, every consumer, every prospect in almost any business has to go through these steps on the road from stranger to client or raving fan. It's also a cycle because once people get to the end where they become a client, it really doesn't end. At that point, they now begin to refer other people to you who come back into that cycle if this is executed properly. So take a look at the steps for a minute. Step number 1, get noticed. Well, this is where it all begins. If people don't notice you, they don't know you exist, they certainly can never do business with you. And if you think about it, whether you're doing this online or in a traditional channel, getting noticed is always the first step. So, as you look at the rest of this framework, one thing you might observe is that this is leveraging something you naturally do already. Maybe you have historically done this in a offline setting where you're shaking hands with people and you're meeting them in various places and you're exchanging business cards and you've gotten noticed. But then you might follow up with phone calls and emails and maybe you run into them again. But in a digital world, it's really the same process. It just has to be done virtually. And we're going to explain how you do that. Getting noticed is always the first step. Beyond that, you have to earn the right to contact somebody. In other words, them being aware of you is not enough. They have to give you permission. They have to raise their hand and say, I want you to contact me. And there are specific ways you want to motivate them to do that. After they've said, yes, I'm willing to be contacted, your job isn't done. You have to build trust. You have to earn the right to do business with them. You have to build credibility. And that's the third step in this process. Then after you've done that, you need to start an active, deeper dialogue with them. You have to get a conversation going where they'll open up about some of their challenges or problems that you're there to solve. How do you get them to do that? Well, we'll answer that today. Then you can work your sales process, whatever that process is. And we understand that every advisor has a different approach to doing business, and that's okay. It really doesn't matter what your unique approach is. If you've done these first 4 steps, when you get to the point where you're winning them as a client, your approach will work as part of this process. And lastly, once they have become a client, you want to continue to expand the relationship, invest in it, and get them to not just be a passive client, but an active client, a raving fan, someone who's telling others about you, who get back into this same process again at the beginning.